In this video, I want to show you 4 phases of church. The first phase is called UPG, as you can see in this picture. So in this stage, there are not so many believers here, and there's no church. Only less than 2 people are Christians or heard the gospel of Jesus. So in this stage, very few people are becoming Christians, and there's a lot of persecution going on here. However, gospel seed is being planted, and people are coming to Jesus Christ. And that goes to the next level, next phase, which is movement. In this stage, there are much more gospel sharing, then much more people are becoming Christians who are here. But still, in this stage, the people who are coming to Jesus are mostly uneducated, or they're economically not so much flourishing people, but they're very eager to learn and very excited about Jesus Christ. And then there are Bible studies in this stage. Then finally, they're forming a church, but not a church with a building, but mostly house churches, just like this. Then the persecution is being continued here. And then the next stage, which is formalizing, the gospel is planted more, and then more people are coming to Jesus. But here, we see the educated people are also becoming Christians in this stage as well. Officials or people who are in the the government are also becoming Christians. So these people who have a more economic power has the power to build actual church building. So in this stage, we see that churches are being formalized. Underground church or house churches are becoming more like a recognized church in this stage. Then there's a number of seminaries are being formed in this stage as well. And then the last phase is what's called the institutional. Here, the gospel movement is kind of plateau or decreasing here. And still, you see a lot of people who are powerful are going to church. Then in this stage, we begin to see more of a big size church, like a big mega church. And you see the star pastors, very good speakers, and you see a big seminaries. So the things are much more institutionalized. However, there in this phase, there's not so much of a persecution that we saw in the UPG, but we see the different kinds of persecution. What is that? Persecution by other church, because other churches are being forming forming organization, and then we see more denomination here, but also we see more division among churches as well. Now, in terms of obedience, in the first 3 stages, we see more of obedience than knowledge. But in institutional phase, we see the opposite. We see more of knowledge than obedience. However, there's a good thing about the institutionalized the phase, because this is where a lot of missionaries are being sent. And then you see that this big churches or organized churches and institutionalized phase, they are sending missions organizations who are sending missionaries to all around the world. But we have to be very careful. If you are coming from institutionalized phase, it is very easy for you to copy and paste your style to UPG or movement and formalizing, which does not work, okay, which is not relevant. So we need to be incarnational, that wherever you go, you need to learn their culture and context, and then make appropriate adjustment, so that we'll be like a Paul. Paul was like a Jew to Jewish people. He was like a Gentile to Gentile people. He was very flexible for the sake of gospel of Christ. So likewise, we need to be flexible and and adjusting to the culture for the sake of the gospel, but we must not mitigate, or we must not compromise the message of Christ Jesus at all. So these four phases of church would help you understand where you are, and then where what God is at work, what He is at work in your setting, so that you can make the proper the adjustment for gospel.